to the Highgate Selectboard meeting for February 4th, 2021. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry about that. Had a piece of muffin from my dinner stuck in my throat. Okay, so we'll welcome everybody and open it up to public comments for anybody who is not already on the agenda. Any public comments?
I was wondering, Sharon, if since Stephanie Smith has come to talk about FEMA, Richard is joining us, if we might be able to move her up the agenda.
Certainly.
Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. Glad you could join us.
So Stephanie, would you like to discuss FEMA with us? Wahoo!
Discuss FEMA. That sounds like a really broad ask. So I don't know where your knowledge of the project is. So Heidi, would it be helpful for you to just catch me up on what the board knows, or let me know where the best place to start would be?
Yeah, so just give a quick overview of a very long project. The first application was in 2013, and you have seen us go through the phase 1 design, and we did complete that, and we submitted the request for phase 2 construction, final design and construction, quite some time ago. And just recently we did a cost overrun so that we could get the consultants to help us answer the 12 pages of questions that FEMA sent on phase 1. They wanted to really understand the details of the design and get enough information to get us to a yes on phase 2. So we did that, answered the questions, sent it back in. FEMA is very good at questions. They came back with more questions, and they had issues with the benefit cost analysis for the whole project. So that BCA held us up. I think I had reported to you a few meetings ago that it's in limbo right now. We don't know what's up. So Stephanie has been working very hard on our behalf through Vermont Emergency Management, who manages the grants for us. So now we believe that we have come to a point where we need very little more information. They have indicated that we have a passing BCA, benefit cost analysis. So where we are right now is, before we could be considered for phase 2, we would have to complete our environmental and archaeological assessments. So they are firm that we cannot roll that into the construction phase. So that's one of the things that Stephanie's here to talk about, because we would have to do an additional cost overrun on phase 1 to cover 75% of the cost of those assessments. So in your packet, there were 2 match forms. One is for a cost overrun for phase 1 to give us enough additional funding to pay the consultants to complete the environmental and archaeological assessment. And we can dig into the details deeper on that. But at the same time, they'd like us to also complete a local match confirmation for the construction, so that they know that we're still looking at moving forward on that. So I think that's about all I have, Stephanie. So maybe that's where you can come in, please.
Yes, thank you. That was helpful. I wasn't entirely sure where the board was in their knowledge, so that's helpful. So yes, what we're looking for from you today is signatures on the two 25% match commitment forms, which is clarifying that the town is responsible for covering the match. FEMA has asked for us to do one for phase one to include the new overrun request. So I'll be developing the overrun request. The only piece I need from you guys is a signature on the 25% match form to get that the archaeology assessment and the environmental assessment included, which should be, I think I budgeted 10,500 total for the two. So FEMA will cover 75% of those costs. The town would be on the hook for the 25. I asked them to roll it into phase one to make sure that we could get you guys reimbursed for that work. I don't want there to be a scenario where you end up having to pay for all of it. So if we get those two assessments in phase one, then we can definitely get those reimbursed. Following that, FEMA has everything they need now to make the phase two award, with the exception of a couple environmental questions that Heidi's working on. And at that point, so it'll take, with the archaeology and the environmental assessment, those two pieces together should take about 6 months to complete. The environmental assessment is really the one that takes that full 6 months once you have someone hired to do the work. And it's really, the idea of it is to study what the impact is going to be in a way that makes it accessible to the public. So making sure that the public knows what's going on, what the impact of this project is going to be. So once those are complete, FEMA should be ready to award phase two. There aren't any other outstanding questions other than the couple of minor things that Heidi's looking at on the environmental review side. So the note about phase two, signing that match form is really the piece that finishes your phase two application for FEMA. So it was something that we should have sent in when we sent in your phase two application, and it wasn't included. The caveat that I told Heidi about earlier this week is that if for whatever reason you guys decide you don't want to go forward with phase two, so if we finish phase one, phase two gets awarded, you don't want to move forward because it's too expensive, you change your mind, you're not committed to moving forward if something happens. So it doesn't, in some sense, this is you're signing something saying that you're committing the funds, that you want to move forward, but you could still change your mind before getting any of the work done, and that would be okay. So I think it's a pretty low risk to sign the two forms. That's what gives FEMA the ability to then give us the overrun for phase one, so we can do the last two assessments and get phase two awarded.
Stephanie, can
Questions on that? Yeah.
yeah, can you give the board and the public watching an idea of what phase two would entail?
Yeah, I think Heidi, do you mind doing that? I think you can probably explain it more eloquently than I can, since I'm newer to the project.
Well, I guess I should have included that in my overview. So the whole project is a restoration of eroding banks at the Highgate transfer station. And there are two sites, and one of the sites is very in close proximity to our sand shed, our town sand shed. And the other is one of the real driving forces is that it is on a bank that is in close proximity to the capped landfill. That is the town's burden. So it does need to be shored up so that there is not a compromise of the capped landfill. So phase two would take us from where we are now of having a preliminary design, and would take us through to final design and construction documents and construction. Does that clarify?
Yeah, so that includes the construction or up to the construction?
Those are construction funds.
Okay.
Mhm.
And we should also note that this price has dropped down slightly because the estimate that Geodesign and Cross Consulting had created for us did have a 20% contingency, which is helpful in a project that takes a very long time so that you don't run short at the end. But FEMA only allows 5%. So you're seeing slightly less than your estimates that were submitted previously.
Okay, and as a reminder, it is the town's responsibility to protect that capped landfill. It's all falls on us at this moment to protect that from sliding into the ravine and going into the river. So that's why this is a major issue for us.
And that's a good segue into another point that Stephanie and I have been discussing. This local match is a significant burden for the town of Highgate, particularly because of the other pressures that you're experiencing. So I reached out to A&R. Stephanie had some good ideas about, bringing them back to the table at this point. So we connected with Buzz Cerwillo, who is our solid waste manager and manages the permits over there. And he was very earnest that he was going to see what he could do to help. So what Stephanie started to say was that this is not something that has to be accomplished this year. We're going to have to do those environmental studies. Then we're going to have to do design. So before we get to construction, you'll have time to build it into another budget, and perhaps we'll be able to find some assistance from A&R for this project.
Mhm.
So there's a little bit of a glimmer at the end of the tunnel for this one.
So Heidi, can you remind us, because I don't have that right in front of me, how much our match would stand at the moment?
So for a 2,512,905 project, the town would be responsible for $628,226.38. So another very painful local match. So that is one of the reasons I wanted Stephanie to come, because I know you don't take this lightly. And it is important to know that you can stop the process if you continue with phase one and then decide that you can't move forward, you can back away.
And we also had applied for both sections with FEMA. And we do have the option of paring that repair down as well.
Well, that might be tricky. So that's something maybe we can utilize Stephanie's expertise, because the main holdup has been that benefit cost analysis. So it involves the cost of the whole process for them to say it's worth it to invest tax dollars. So I think if you split the project in half, it may or may not work. And Stephanie, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, that would be my concern as well. If I don't know between the two which one, there might be one that's carrying the other a little bit in the benefit cost analysis, and I'm not sure. So that could be a challenge. I think the biggest the things that will cause problems going forward is if there are changes to the design that involve FEMA doing a different review than they've already done. That's a big thing that will take more time and potentially cost more and cause a problem for that benefit cost analysis. And because it's so close, so FEMA requires that it at least be a ratio of 1-to-1. So meaning that the costs are at least equal to the benefit. We're just over 1 right now. There's not a lot of space. I don't have from FEMA yet their final technical report to tell us how much space we have. But one of the concerns is definitely if if for whatever reason the project cost went up, it might not be cost effective anymore. And so the question that I've posed to FEMA is if we're already into construction and then something comes in as more expensive, does that jeopardize the full project? The short, quick answer was probably not, but I'm waiting to get that actually officially from FEMA so that I know that I'm not putting you guys on the hook for anything. I want to make sure we have that answer before we would start phase 2 so that there's no possibility of you getting stuck with the full amount. I think the worst case scenario then would be that if there was an overrun, we wouldn't be able to ask FEMA for more funding. It would have to come from the town. So that would be the challenge if we needed additional funding. But I will confirm with FEMA in writing that they wouldn't expect you to pay back anything that they'd already paid for, that FEMA had already paid for. So I will make sure we have that before any phase 2 begins, hopefully sooner than that, since we have to do these other environmental and archaeology in the meantime. But
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Stephanie or about the project?
The only question I would have is, what choice do we have but not to sign this? Because it seems that we have very little choice about this. If something should happen and that cap got popped, I would hate to think what the cost would be if that happened. So I guess it's more of a comment than a question.
Well, they did quantify for you the cost of a potential failure at that site, and it was 6.9 something million. So,
which didn't include the sand shed, so it ends up being like 7.8.
Yeah, not a great thing to think about either way. The 620, 226 or the 7.8 million. But if everyone is in agreement, I would take a motion to sign the original phase 1 25% match overrun. We'll do them individually.
I'd make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then if we are all in agreement, I would take a motion to sign the phase 2 25% match documents for this project as well.
I'd make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Stephanie, I have one question for you.
Yes, go ahead.
What happens if we have a natural disaster and something happens to that site and we don't have our ducks in a row?
Yeah.
What would FEMA do?
It's a hard question. So it would mean that we wouldn't be moving forward with this project because the project is to stabilize the bank. So that part wouldn't be relevant anymore. I think based on the significant amount of cost, I would hope that the Agency of Natural, I imagine someone would be able to come in with some funding, maybe from the EPA for the cleanup of the site. I don't honestly know exactly what that would look like. My hope is certainly that we can fix it before that becomes a problem, but it would, yeah, the estimated cost is 7.8 million. So I don't imagine that would all be able to come from the town.
Right,
I think it would have to come from, it would have to come from somewhere else.
Yes.
So, and it would be a catastrophe for the river. So I think
Yes.
there would be funding from somewhere, but but
Okay,
I honestly, I don't know.
all right. So if there are no other questions on this project. Okay, Stephanie, thank you so much for coming and answering our questions and giving us an idea of what the future holds for us.
Yeah, and if other questions come up, definitely, I'm talking to Heidi regularly about this, so let me know, or if it's helpful to have me back later in the process or when we get to phase 2, we can do that as well. And as soon as I have the signed forms, I'll submit the overrun request for phase 1 to FEMA and keep you guys posted.
All right, thank you so much.
Heidi?
Just thought of something else, maybe before we let Stephanie go. I'm going to put you back on the spot, Stephanie. So I had mentioned to you that the landowners have signed the forms for the FEMA home buyout on the Mishi Road. So we're waiting. Stephanie's been pulled in many different directions this year for a lot of COVID stuff. So she hasn't had a chance to look at those, but did anyone have any more questions about the FEMA home buyout that you'd like to clarify now?
I don't have any questions.
Well, if you do, when we get a little farther in that one, and yeah, I apologize, I haven't had a chance to fully look at it yet. But the applications are due to FEMA in April. So there were some other priorities on my plate, but I will review it. I should be able to review it next week. So I'll let Heidi know if there's anything missing or anything else that I need. And then we can submit that one for April to FEMA.
How long does that usually take?
To get it awarded?
Yes.
Or the project. So it'll be a lot simpler than this project, I promise. It should only be a few months. It's a landslide risk, so I think we would definitely be telling FEMA that it was a priority to get this approved soon. Part of the challenge that'll come up is if we can get it approved and the project completed this year, that would be a bit of a tight turnaround. So we might be looking at the town actually purchasing the property and demo next year, to be conservative. So how it works at a high level is that the town is the one purchasing the property. So FEMA's paying for it. It ends up in town ownership, and you're required to maintain it as open space. I think because it's a landslide and there's not a lot of space there, I don't imagine that being a problem. And it ends up in town ownership and under your control. And I've lost the other thing I was about to say. I apologize. But that's the general idea is we buy out the home, we demolish it, it stays in town ownership as open space so that no one else can build on it or cause any future risk. So
Okay.
there's no cost to the town. There is available to you guys a 5% management cost grant. So it's 5% of the total project cost that can be used for Heidi's time to administer the project. So to hire someone to do an appraisal, to hire someone for demolition, that sort of thing. 5% isn't a ton of money, but it's a little bit for you guys to help manage the process. And then in this case, the homeowner is going to be responsible for that 25% match.
Right. Hopefully it will survive the spring. I think is our biggest fear is that as long as we can keep an eye on it and make sure that everyone's safe.
Yeah, and it's possible we could get it done this year. It would be a little tight with getting someone in to do the demo. So the requirement is that once the closing happens, it has to be demolished within 90 days. So if it's the middle of winter, that could be a little challenging. But we'll have to see what the timing is when we get there. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you
you
so
all.
much.
Yeah, have a good night.
Good night. Okay, so let's move right along to Shelley.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm quick and easy tonight.
So has everyone had a chance to look at the check warrants?
I have.
Okay, can we have a motion to sign the check warrants at a later date and allow Shelley to process those payments?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. And Shelley, I did get your message.
Okay, good.
I had expressed a little concern over the budget review that Shelley had sent us because I saw that the highway department was quickly running out of funds. So,
Go away, you little shit.
Shelley, I'll let you tell them what you told me.
I think they are still in good shape. We have just over 4 months left of this fiscal year. They have just shy of $75,000 in their budget at this time, with another expected $39,000 coming from the Vermont state AOT aid that they get, their final payment for this year. So I think they will finish in the positive, in the black. So as long as nothing crazy happens, they should be okay. The paving is all done for this fiscal year. The other biggest expense they'll have this spring will be the stone for the grading.
Okay. Well, thank you for checking into that for me. That makes me feel a lot better.
No problem. I had that tax map maintenance proposal for the GIS system that we use for our online mapping that Amy was gonna have you sign at a later date.
Okay.
Had everyone had a chance to look over that? It's an annual
Yes.
cost of $4,100. And that amount has pretty well been consistent for as long as I've been around.
And that's built into our budget.
Yes.
Okay, so if everyone's looked at that, I'd entertain a motion to sign that one-year contract.
Moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And then lastly, just a quick update, delinquent taxes, people are still making payments regularly. It's been a really good year for everybody as far as that goes. The delinquent tax amount right now, of course, not including the Jedco property, is down to $105,599.05.
Fantastic.
Yes, everyone's done very well with their payments. Very happy.
No, especially in a hard year, that's just fantastic.
Yes, I agree. And that is it for me.
Okay.
I have a quick question, Shelley.
Sure.
What do we have in the CIP for the transfer station project?
I will, at my dining room table, cannot give you a definite answer on that, but I will
All right,
email you that in the,
You got a ballpark recollection?
Heidi
not,
might have
that's
a better
fine.
ballpark than me with her requisitions, but I'd rather give you a definite than guess.
Okay. Yeah, it's not.
Just looking
crucial.
at the capital budget that just came out in the town report.
Well, that's what we
And-
have saved. I'm not sure if that's taken into any reimbursement accounts or bills. Like I just got another GIS bill today for the transfer station. So it's definitely a moving target. So I'll get back to you tomorrow in an email with
Tomorrow or next meeting.
with a better answer on that.
Okay, any other questions for Shelley? Okay. Moving right along to Wendy.
So,
Hello.
Minutes from January 21st.
Okay, has everyone had a chance to read the minutes from January 21st?
Yes.
I'd entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
I make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Don't be shy.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Town meeting day is quickly approaching. Town reports, Shelley got them out in circulation last week. They are at DeSorcy's, Martin's General Store, McEwen's, Highgate Library and Community Center, and there's a supply at the town office in a bin by the drop box. I have gotten calls. I've been mailing them directly to people that need them. And shortly there will be a PDF on the website as well. So anybody that needs a town report should have access to one, or please call me. I will gladly get one to you. Absentee ballots. Our ballots are here. They came in the other day. I am waiting on the school district ballots. I am told they will be here by Tuesday. So I have at least 100, probably a little bit more absentee ballots that I will be getting out next week. So anyone that does want to vote and not go to the polls, get a hold of me by email, mail, phone. If you see me around town, whichever way, I'm happy to get a ballot to you if you do not want to go to the polls. But Shelley and I will be at Highgate Sports Arena on March 2nd from 7 to 7 in the lobby, same spot we were in August and November. And I think that's it for town meeting. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a comment. I was approached by the Franklin Select Board and asked how we were doing our town meeting day. They have chosen to go mail all their ballots to their taxpayers.
Yeah.
And I told them that we had chose to do something different. So they're very curious as to how ours works out, and I would be curious to see how theirs works out.
Yes. Originally, all three towns were leaning towards not mailing them to all and sending them by request. And then right after our last meeting that very night, I did get a message from Lisa that the Franklin Select Board had changed direction to mail them to everyone. I called Kathy and Swanton and they were staying with the course to just do them by request. So, and we had already sent out our postcard mailing saying that's what we were doing back in December. So,
Right.
so yeah, I always touch base with Lisa and Sarah and Franklin. So yes, I can get some details on how that worked for them.
Okay, great. Any questions for Wendy?
About town meeting? Okay, good. I appreciate the ability to use the arena facility because we can't be in the school and our facility just isn't big enough with the worst parking and traffic pattern available. So I am glad to be able to have the arena facility to use. It works out very, very well for us. Dog licensing's going well. Just a reminder, they're due April 1st. Our rabies clinic is very tentative for March 27th, dependent on if the ice season is extended. So there'll be more information on that as we get closer. I started circulating a list of appointed positions that you're going to be appointing after town meeting. I'll turn on my camera here. This list here, I posted it everywhere. Facebook, websites around town. It's all the positions that are appointed. I can quickly rattle them off. Tree warden, fire warden,
animal control, assistant animal control, health officer, deputy health officer, Northwest Regional Planning Rep, Transportation Advisory, Delinquent Tax Collector, Communications Union District Rep, Road Commissioner, Fire Commissioner, Development Review Board, Planning Commission, Recreation Commission, and Village Corps. So anybody's interested, I've heard from a lot of people that already hold these seats that are looking to get reappointed, but it's fair game if anybody else is interested. Submit your letters of interest to me by February 26th, please.
Okay.
I have one more liquor license. Let's do that last. The listers gave me this today. You sign this for them every year. It's a certificate of no appeal or suit pending. I'll read this. We hereby certify that on this date, no earlier than the first Tuesday of February following the lodging of the grand list, there are no appeals pending from the action of the listers nor suits to recover taxes paid under protest. And it references the statute 32 VSA section 4157. You sign this every year for the listers. They have already signed it. So if I could get a motion from you guys to sign it, I'll track you all down for signatures.
Okay. So can I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, a second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And
Aye.
last thing, the last thing I have is, this is our final liquor license renewal for 2021, if you want to move into that board.
Okay, I'd make a motion to exit the regular select board meeting and enter into the liquor control board. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay,
Aye.
this is a 2021 liquor license renewal application for a second class liquor license for DeSorcy's Market.
Okay. Any questions or concerns about that license? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion to sign the liquor license for DeSorcy's?
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
okay. I would make a motion to exit the liquor control board and enter back into the regular select board meeting.
Moved.
All right,
That's it for me.
okay. Everybody say aye.
Second.
Aye.
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 Okay, Heidi.
We are moving right along. The first thing on my list is to discuss the Vermont Community Development Program Implementation Grant. And this is one more grant that we would be applying for the Highgate Airport Infrastructure Project. So there are two documents that would need to be approved by the select board for this application. But before, I just wanted to read a tiny summary because this is also the hearing that is required for the submission of the grant. So the public notice is that the town of Highgate is considering making application to the state of Vermont for a Vermont Community Development Program implementation grant under the Vermont Community Development Program. A virtual public hearing will be held to obtain views of citizens on community development, to furnish information concerning the amount of funds available and the range of community development activities that may be undertaken under this program, and the impact of any historic or archaeological resources that may be affected by the proposed project, and to give affected citizens the opportunity to examine the proposed statement of projected use of these funds. So the application is for 500,000, and that is towards your total estimated budget of 3.4 million to extend water and sewer infrastructure from the intersection of Thunderbird Road, the driveway to MVU, along Route 78 east to Airport Road, and then turning on to Airport Road and going as far as the airport terminal. So the water and sewer is provided by Swanton Village. They recently upgraded the lines to MVU school, and that makes them able to allow further connections onto that. So the project was considered because the state is planning an expansion of the Highgate Airport. And simultaneously, there was a subdivision going through review for a 7-lot commercial park on a budding property. So at this point, it became interesting to the town that this might be a very good way to stimulate the opportunity for some high-end manufacturing or food processing that would require sewer and water versus what the potential could be at that park without water and sewer, which is a very different scenario, more warehousing, less actual production. So the town applied for a grant and performed a study that indicated that the benefits to the town and the surrounding region far outweighed the investment. So that said, the investment is still a major burden. So the town has already received a grant from Northern Borders Regional Commission for $507,107. And we are listed in the state's transportation budget for a $1 million allocation. So with those, this application would add to the cost. And when we are able to figure out exactly what we have in hand for these grants and the state allocation, then it would go to a vote sometime prior to September of 2021. So I think that's everything I wanted to say. Other than the vote would be prior to our final funding application to the Economic Development Administration, EDA grants for infrastructure. So the bond vote would include the potential for that last grant as well. I think that's it.
Question I got, I read the newspaper article, out of the $1 million, and that's if it gets granted by the state. 750 would go towards this project. The other 250 I think went towards administrative type stuff. How much of that would be to alleviate, I guess, the burden on the taxpayer? What are we looking at out of pocket? If, let's say, the full $1 million gets awarded, what are we looking at for working capital levels?
I'm going to hesitate to say too much about that allocation because a lot could happen between now and then. And the amount that is dedicated to the portion of Highgate's project and the amount that's dedicated to the state's project to connect their buildings and future hangars is unknown. So any numbers right now are guesstimates. But the way that I'm understanding this funding is because it's coming from the state budget, it is now state considered falling in the category of state and local. So those funds can be used to assist with the local match.
How many strings are attached to the state money? That would be granted.
Well, I would be speaking prematurely if I said that. I really cannot explain very many details about this at this time. We will know more shortly. We hope to know by March how this plays out. But I don't anticipate any more strings than any of the other grants that we are in, the other funding that we have. And we're allowed to go up to 80% of the project total in federal funding. Those are the grants that are really going to have the hoops to jump through in them.
Okay, I guess we'll just wait and see.
Heidi, has the state had any more progress with the idea of extending the runway?
That is in the proposed upgrade. That was one of the topics they covered at their meetings with the landowners. It is in the plan that's in the flyer that we're circulating. That image of the state expansion does include that runway extension.
But do they have the funds for that as well, or are they taking those funds out of the $1 million?
No, that is more of a state and FAA project. The way that this allocation was worded was that it was actually for the infrastructure project. So I believe that $1 million was specific to creating water and sewer. But I am unclear how much of that is for the state's project sewer extension. Because our proposal was to run it out to the site so that it was able to serve the state as well as the adjoining commercial property. And then they will have to pay the difference to connect to their buildings, of which they have 3. They have the snow removal building, they have their terminal. They also have the District 8 AOT garage that's there, as well as their hangars. When they create their plan had, I'm going to say 14 hangars that they were constructing. So I think that they wanted to bring water out to those as well.
Heidi, has there been any more information about the federal legislation to forgive local matches for some of those funds?
For the Northern Borders grant, we did see that paperwork that I believe Senator Leahy had a hand in using some of the economic development funds that were coming out of the COVID issue to waive the local match for the Northern Borders grant. We don't know any more about how that's going to play out, and it's something that we have to really wait to see what that will mean for us, because we're mixing several grants together. So, more details to come. But it's good news. We've had good news lately. So, if you don't have any more questions on that plan, I need the select board to approve this resolution that has to be submitted. So the resolution just stating that you are the legal authority that can do this, that you understand the terms and conditions of the grant, that you have a duly adopted municipal plan. We have received documentation from the Regional Planning Commission that the project is consistent with the regional plan. You're designating me as your contact person and Sharon as the Chief Executive Officer. There's background noise coming from one of your microphones. So this was in your packet, this resolution. I'm asking the board to approve that, as well as the letter. And the letter says that you are working towards coming up with a funding package to put in front of the voters prior to September.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? Have you had a chance to look at those documents that she would like you to sign?
I have, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a whole bunch confused, because there's so many different grants and there's so many different angles at this. I'd be lying if I said I understood the whole thing. I don't. I'm trying to get my head wrapped around it, but there's so many different loopholes, and I have no problem with signing these, what she asked tonight. I did read that, but just for the record, I'm trying.
Yeah,
I
know.
get it.
Yeah. It's like juggling lots of oranges in the air and
somebody threw an apple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns? Richard, you doing okay with this? You got to take yourself off mute because I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat Kyle's in. It's getting confusing, and the more grants Heidi puts out there, the more I get confused. But I'm trying to catch on.
Realizing we need these grants to be able to pull this off, but
Yeah.
We did talk about having the members of that steering committee that worked on the study come back to the select board and do an update. So we talked about March 18th. I circulated that and I got a lot of responses. So I'm planning to have a little more information for you about status on how this all links together, and just have a conversation about the next steps, make sure we're in line to understand everything that is coming at you all at once. So hopefully that will be a good status update and provide enough information to get us all on the same page.
So Heidi, the state's partner, what's the story on him now? Is he swap land with them? What's he doing? I haven't heard much about him lately.
They're working on that. I believe that they are both in agreement, the state and Mr. Harrison, the owner of the adjoining property, that they are moving forward with the land swap. One of the things that's happening right now is that they are in very deep discussions with Act 250, because it appears that Act 250 has deemed the property, which is the proposed site of the commercial park, as prime agricultural soil. And so this is all done by mapping. It's not so much what's on the ground, because the property is an exhausted sand pit. So it wouldn't appear to be prime ag soil. However, Act 250 is putting a very sizable fee on that. So I believe tomorrow there is a discussion with Act 250 the Transportation Department, Mr. Harrison, and Tim Smith from FCIDC to see if they can come to a more reasonable conclusion, because the fees are not sustainable at this time. So they're working very hard on it. I believe all parties are committed to it moving forward.
Heidi, have we invited the Swanton Village trustees for the 18th?
No, I did not invite the trustees. I did invite Reg Beliveau, so I can definitely extend that. That makes perfect sense.
Yes, please invite them as well. I'd like all of the invested parties to have all the same information, and make sure that their taxpayers as well as ours know exactly what's going on.
And Reg did comment, he did participate in that article that was in the paper. Made a statement about the benefits to Swanton as well. So I think that they definitely want to be at the table. So I will do that. So did we conclude on these two papers?
So any more questions? Okay, so can I have a motion to sign this Vermont Community Grant and the letter as well?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second,
okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay,
You have your annual certificate of highway mileage from AOT. This has to be approved prior to you receiving your annual state aid for highways. And there was a minor change, which was noted under number 3, reclassified and remeasured. And these are both results of the redesign of the intersection of Route 78 with Macy Road at the bridge. So you lost 0.03 miles of Class 2 Macy Road due to the B25 replacement, realignment, and remeasurement. And you gained 0.03 Class 4 Pines Plains Road due to B25 project. So the way that they ended that up took some of the Macy Road away from that intersection. So it did change your mileage. So you're signing for this change as well as your mileage from last year.
okay. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay, can I have a motion to sign the annual mileage report for the state of Vermont?
I'll make that motion.
Moved.
Okay, Vern, I'll take you as a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 I have some other things as well. I had thought that we would have a certificate of approved location request. I put that in your report, but it's not ready yet. It hasn't come from the zoning administrator to me yet, so there is a new road name request in your packet for a development off from Lambkin Street, Muskrat Run. And it is a 2-lot subdivision.
And we've checked that name and it doesn't appear anywhere else.
This has been through the Public Works Department, and we did forward it to Amy to make sure. And she said there is only one other muskrat run in the state of Vermont, so it shouldn't be a conflict for 911.
Okay, great. So can I have a motion to, well, is there any discussion on Muskrat Run?
So are there muskrats in all those old sand pits?
Was wondering the same thing.
I'm told it was her nickname as a child, Muskrat
Okay,
developer.
Whereabouts is this located?
There's a map on the back of the file, on the back of the form. It is across from Quail Drive, just past Quail Drive,
The
yeah,
other
it's
side of the
probably-
road.
on the
yeah,
opposite side.
Okay. So is it right around where Clarence and Melvina Cooper was?
I'm gonna let Wendy answer that.
Is
That have been
what-
Art Cooper's place.
Yeah.
Art, is
Yeah,
his last name Cooper?
yeah, Art Cooper, but well, yeah, there was Art Proof too, right?
Right. Yeah, it's just right over there, just before the cornfield where Diesel's developing.
Okay. Okay, I know where it is now.
Oh, Vern, you are an original.
Real big into visual cues.
Wait, that might be a beaver, actually.
I Googled muskrat, it said muskrat. So.
It's
Oh.
a muskrat. It's a muskrat.
Okay.
okay. So can I have a motion to accept Muskrat Run?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I will second that.
All right, with your visual cues. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
So on that same topic, Amy did come to me and explained that a previously approved name was an issue when she contacted. So Amy is not just a lister, she's your 911 coordinator. And so when she gets the form at the end, she communicates with 911 and gets it on their mapping. And there was an issue because one of the previously requested names is a very popular name throughout the state, which can be an issue for emergency vehicles. So they asked her to please check earlier in the process. And so there are some suggested edits to your 911 road naming policy, just to put a further check by the 911 the Highgate 911 coordinator, so she can check the state mapping prior to it coming to you.
Okay,
So I'm looking for approval.
is everyone all right with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Can we have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right.
I am done, other than needing to speak with you in executive about a legal matter. And just a reminder that our next meeting will not be on the 18th. It will be the info session on the 22nd. That's it.
We're throwing you a curveball, Kyle.
I'll be all right.
Okay, do we have
Well,
anything?
it's
for-
all right. It's soft pitch.
There. Do we have anything for select board? I do want to thank everyone for the town report. I think it came out very nicely. I was very pleased to see the Christmas parade on the front. I think that was wonderful.
It's awesome. I was actually at Martin's store getting my mail, and I just happened to be walking by, and I saw it. And I'm like, oh wow, look at that! Caught my eye. Very,
Yep.
very well.
All right. So I don't have anything special. So I would entertain a motion to exit the regular select board meeting if there's no other comments by the public. All right. Hearing none, I'd entertain that motion.
So moved.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 And we'll move into executive session where we will discuss legal. All right. Thank you all for coming. And
Bye.
have a
We're gonna-
wonderful night.